Hello there friends, welcome back to another episode of Generation Tech. My name is Alan and be careful, the floor is electrified. Episode 8 takes us to Narkani 5, just one small cog in the larger Imperial prison/labor system that we talked about in one of our previous videos. It's even more cruel and evil than I realized, and it's really shocking to me how efficient it is, actually. Usually Imperial facilities look formidable, are built in extremely terrifying and isolated areas, but they actually have a lot of weaknesses that can be exploited. Either design flaws, corruption, discipline issues by the staff, and so on. But the Narkani 5 prison is as evil as it is brilliant. Let's break it down. Once they arrive to the prison, we see two design features that are extremely efficient at preventing escape. One, this prison is more or less underwater. This means the only real escape is out of the few surface exits that will surely be heavily guarded. This funnels all escape attempts to just one area. This means you don't need a perimeter wall, which has a bunch of guards and takes up a lot of manpower. And any escape underwater is going to be extremely hard and require special equipment. Next, we're treated with the shots of a high-ranking officer. Notice how the shot starts at their feet. The footwear is important. Now, honestly, I usually don't complain about stuff like this. I mean, I was completely fine with the Space AKs, but those are so clearly snowboard boots. They have the Burton-style BOA quick lace system on it, the little loop near the tongue to help get the thing off. They even have what looks like the top straps for bindings. I actually tried to find this model online. It might be a Burton. They definitely modified it a little bit. Now, the AKs make sense to me because they're an iconic sign for a revolution. Snowboarding, however, is a counterculture, so it kind of is weird seeing, Imperial prison guards wearing what are a counterculture symbol. Anyway, these boots are insulated from the ground, which is completely electrified, or can be electrified on command.
I'm sure some, if not all of you, are wondering how we risk standing before you without weapons. It's a potent question.
Here, there's a brilliance in this system. You do not have to have guards carrying lethal or even non-lethal weapons really here, which is important because generally prison guards are not supposed to patrol amongst the populace with lethal weapons because they're usually heavily outnumbered and they can easily be overwhelmed and lose those weapons. Generally, you'll see prison guards on catwalks or towers armed with lethal or non-lethal munitions, and that's about it. The electrified floor and the fact that all the prisoners have no shoes on solves that problem completely. This is actually a terrifyingly efficient way to keep people under control, and look just how much this sadistic guard enjoys watching them squirm. I don't even think he's savoring their pain necessarily here. I think it's just a power thing. Just read about the Stanford prison experiments and you'll understand what I'm talking about. And it is indeed terrifying because unlike a shock administered from a baton, which one can easily escape by running away or twisting their body, you cannot escape the floor you are standing on. I mean, just imagine wherever you're watching this right now if the floor was actually electrified. Imagine the mental drain, the constant fear that you would have in your mind from the situation. It's akin to having the electrical baton stabbed into your stomach at all times, but you never know when it's going to go off and hurt you. This is a very carefully designed system utilizing basic human psychology against the prisoners. It's just classical conditioning. You know, the famous Pavlovian dog study, but with negative reinforcement here. And what's really messed up about the situation is you don't see the guard with the electrical baton shocking you. It's some person in the control tower pushing a button. So it's almost like some kind of unknown force is shocking you. There's no connection between you and the person actually doing the thing. So it becomes even more confusing and even easier to condition prisoners to react to this kind of stimulus. And this leads to incredibly docile prisoners. They might not even consciously be following orders. They've been conditioned completely subconsciously. There's another interesting thing here I want to point out. Look how serious these guards are. Even when they have complete control of the situation, they're basically surrounding an unarmed Andor here who's not dangerous at all. Yet they're still following protocol to the T, and they maintain high levels of vigilance and aggression. On top of that, they're clearly nervous because they're short just one man, as if it makes a difference. We're not really used to seeing this high-level professionalism in the Empire, especially considering that these are just prison guards and not elite stormtroopers. And we're clued in when the late guard finally arrives why this is.
Sorry, I had to wait. They're short-handed down there. They had to pull a guy out from 4. I came as quick as I could.
As we mentioned in our previous video about Pord.
Any criminal act with even indirect effect on the Empire will henceforth be branded a Class 1 offence.
All prison sentences are immediately re-evaluated.
All outstanding fines and levies are to be paid in full.
This initiative is going to flood an already full prison system and push it to its limits. The Narkani prison is designed very well, and therefore it requires a minimal amount of staff, but it still requires a minimal amount of staff. As always, in a defensive system, the easiest parts to overcome are static, aka the walls, the gates, and even the electrified floors. These things cannot react as quickly to a smart human being. I mean, Andor's already checking out the boots on his way in. The key to any defense is actually the humans assigned to it. They are the greatest strengths and greatest weaknesses in this system. I think these Imperial guards were not as vigilant probably weeks ago before Pord was initiated, and this is the brilliance of Luthen Rael's raid. As he said, he wants the Empire to overreact, and one thing they've done is crowd their own prisons and flood it with tons and tons of new inmates. This creates more opportunity for prison revolts, and clearly these Imperial prison guards are feeling that extra tension now. Finally, we have the last part of the puzzle, how these guards deal with the prisoners.
I must admit, I didn't think much of Andor the first time I laid my eyes on him. Looked like a stiff breeze could blow him over. That was my first impression of the man.
Notice the focus here. Everyone stops what they're doing and acknowledges his presence and watches him join their room. This is because this prison is not made of a bunch of individuals. It's made of teams, and when the prisoners are punished, they're punished as a team. This is a great way to get the prisoners to watch over each other. This is why you have this theatrical descent from Andor on this elevator. Everyone is watching him, and they're gonna make sure he doesn't screw up, because they will suffer for it. Now, in this prison, there are 7 floors, and on every floor there are 7 rooms, and in every room there are 7 teams. Each team is made up of 7 people, and all of these teams, all of these rooms, and all of these floors are competing against each other. Everything in the Empire is about order, and the structure is all about smaller wheels inside of larger wheels inside of larger wheels. It's represented in how the ISB building is constructed and how the supervisors are arrayed. We see it in the Galactic Empire's crest, and now we see it even more clearly in this prison. 7, 7, 7, 7. 7 like the 7 different colors that join together in a prism to make white, which is colorless. This represents 7 unique and distinct personalities that the Empire wants to wipe clean, and so they feed them into this machine, and out comes this bland, mundane, colorless product. And these products, these war machines, they're designed to do one thing, and that's to bring more monotony, less individuality, and more oppression to the galaxy. The prison makes every table compete against each other in every room, and as usual, the Empire uses competition to turn people against each other, so they're too busy to actually realize what's going on. The slowest table in each room gets punished by electroshock, and the winners get flavor in their food. That sounds funny, but in a world where everything is mundane, even mundane rewards will reach new levels of importance. Everything is relative to what your current situation is in. In a world without currency or ownership of anything, suddenly having a little flavor in your food can be one of the most important things of them all. I mean, human beings are remarkable for their ability to adapt to extreme situations. And one of the ways we can adjust is we completely forget what the past was like when we were free and we enjoyed life. You get shocked too many times, you might forget everything. And it's at that point you become a shell of your former self. And of course, it's the guards who control this reward and punishment system remotely. It's really the prison floor managers like Kino who keep the prisoners in line inside of the actual prison. Kino, in turn, is also motivated to compete with the other rooms. Everyone is competing against everyone. The only person who is not competing is the Empire, who sits at the top. This lack of interaction between the real authority, not Kino, and the prisoners means that the prison guards will not face as many problems. It's a brilliant and cruel design. This system is reminiscent of what you see in the automated warehouses like the ones that Amazon runs. Every worker is given a set amount of points, and once they run out of these points by missing too many shifts, they're fired. There's no manager who needs to make this decision to fire this individual, and the workers also don't have the ability to become friendly with the manager and get special treatment. I mean, psychopaths like Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, they hate human interaction. What they want are clearly defined rules, clearly defined parameters. They want order in everything. Like the electrified floor in the prison here, the point system has very clear rules and boundaries. You can complain all you want, but no one will hear you. There's a sort of tyranny from not having access to the actual systems that control your life. You notice how most of the prisoners already cower in fear by the time Andor meets them. They're completely broken by this system. Only Melshi over here, who some of you Rogue One fans might recognize, has some heart and spirit left inside of him. I'm sure he recognizes Andor as a kindred spirit. Now, everything in this prison is designed for efficiency. Look at the facility, it's extremely clean. There's no chance for disease. The prisoners are desanitized daily. Their rooms, their clothing are also cleaned. They're given unlimited amounts of food, and even their quarters aren't necessarily that depressing and are cleanly lit and open. The Empire is usually portrayed as cartoonishly cruel, but what's more evil, a system that randomly kills and tortures people without reason, or a system that is extremely efficient at keeping prisoners alive and healthy, at least physically, so that they can suck all of their energy out of them through labor? It's like the freaking Matrix, guys. They want to prolong the lives of these workers so that they can create more productivity. The efficiency of this system is equally as terrifying as the chaos that is individuals like Darth Vader. This clearly is not a first-generation prison. Narkani 5 represents years, if not decades, of experience, trial and error to create the ideal system to get the maximum productivity at minimal cost. This is Andor's Empire. This is before Yavin 4 and Alderaan. It's not flashy, it's not ridiculous, it's not building gigantic space stations with death lasers on them. Well, it's not complete yet, I guess. Instead, the Empire here is a cold and hardened machine that ignores the individual humanity of people and turns them into gears and statistics, numbers on a spreadsheet. This theme is repeated everywhere, and it's becoming very clear. You have Cyril Stint in the Bureau of Statistics. You have Deidre Miro in the ISB. There's a reason why the two most talented and dangerous detectives chasing Andor and Luthen Rael are not magical force users or super badass assassins. They're essentially just data analysts, individuals who shift through the massive amount of information collected by the Empire and try to find what they're looking for. Luthen Rael was correct. He sensed the slow and impeding doom of Imperial competence, of individuals like Deidre Miro who were far more efficient at cracking down on rebel networks than a blunt and antiquated tool like Darth Vader. This is why he chooses fire, destruction, and death. This is why he's willing to start this war rather than die a slow death from the gradual creep of Imperial bureaucracy and authoritarianism and surveillance.
I'm a coward. I'm a man who's terrified the Empire's power will grow beyond the point where we can do anything to stop it. I'm the one who says we'll die with nothing if we don't put aside our petty differences.
Pity!
Star Wars has always guarded us from ourselves. The original trilogy basically warned us about the evils of the Vietnam War. The prequel trilogy warned us about how democracies can slide towards authoritarianism if we become fearful and give in to militarism. Andor warns us about a completely new danger, the danger of the surveillance state, the danger of corporations turning human beings into numbers and instead of regarding us as the individuals that we are.